Hello, everyone. And today is definitely an interesting day in Destiny. Today should definitely be a day of reckoning and realization of a lot of stuff. And instead, it is a day of just bad taste and disappointment. For those of you who don't know or have yet to play, very easy, simple story mission today. Just go do a lost sector and you'll go and see this cutscene. If you want to go do that now, go ahead and leave before I show it. So if you want no spoilers, go off, take the 5 minutes, go do that, come back to the video, and we'll continue talking from there. I'm going to assume you've all have now gone, and we're going to continue. I'm going to play this in the background, and I'm going to just kind of go over what happened. So we finally know who the witness is, or what the witness is, I guess, and the origins of him. It is the culmination of an entire society into one being. I don't know what to call them, so we're just going to call them the first beings. The first beings exist on this planet far, far away, and they discovered the Traveler. And the Traveler, maybe I'm digging a little too into this, but it was thrown into dirt, dust, what it looked like, and it kind of brings up a question of why it wasn't being majestic and mighty that we've always seen it to be. So there might be some extra lore tidbit there, but we're going to skip over that for today. The Traveler awakens and brings prosperity to their people, and they proceed for eons to live in this prosperous paradise. And throughout those eons, they study and learn about the light. And eventually, they start to wonder about a purpose. As once you have everything around you that you could ever want, you start to wonder why you're there. And they did. And they eventually, after studying the light for so long, learned that yes, it could bring life and joy and prosper, but it could also bring what they viewed as chaos and unneeded, but could also bring as what they saw as chaos and unneeded suffering. And so they continued to look forward into the stars and eventually found the veil. They then went after the veil and made contact with it. Once they did, they learned about the darkness. And as they did with the light, they also studied and learned about the darkness. As through their studies, they learned that the darkness was a paracausal force as well, but was more through the shaping through consciousness and decisions. And thus, they found their purpose. They could recreate the universe around them without the needless suffering that they viewed that the Traveler was bringing to the universe. And so they brought the veil over to the Traveler so that way they could connect the two to be able to rewrite the entire history of the universe and the image that they see, the final shape. The Traveler, realizing what they were doing, and when they brought the veil over, fled, and thus began the story that we all know today. With that happening, and thus the witness and all of its and thus the people, the first beings, decided to chase after the Traveler, and using the knowledge that they gained from the darkness, combined themselves into one being, the Witness. And again began our story that we know today of the constant fight and flight of the Traveler. This was supposed to be a massive revelry for us. A day where we realize all these cool things, all these terrifying thoughts that come through. And instead, while it does hit that, and I'm sure there are some people who are celebrating and realizing these things, it hits way too late. As I'm sure many of you have already expressed or have seen, the community, in fact, is very, very upset. And I would like to voice these opinions and my own on the matter in a way that I feel is helpful to both the development of the game in the future, as well as a way for us to get our grief through respectfully. This was something that should have been in the campaign of Lightfall. Season of the Deep story, while good and the content itself is good, nowhere in here am I saying that the content of Destiny is bad. It is all about the delivery of the content. This is one of those failures that Bungie has that is a glaring failure of why Lightfall was such a disaster. This is content that should have been in the Lightfall campaign. And just to beat a dead horse, and I know it's dead, all right, but just to point it out there again, Ascross just recently made a video about how Destiny's being ruined by microtransaction and how Bungie's grabbing for all the money in the world. This really solidifies it for me on a lot of levels, because Bungie asks us to pay a $60 fee to play the DLC. That is the same as me going out and buying a new AAA game. I expect the same amount of content when I spend that much money. And instead, I got a season's worth of content. Something that's worth $15, I paid $64. And instead, Bungie seems to believe that this price that they're asking for and the way that they are telling stories seems to be based on a year. They are then expecting you to pay $100 to tell a story over the next year. And if that's the case, fine, so be it, but make it obvious. Don't tell me that I'm paying $50 for something that has $15 worth of content, because that's just the truth of the matter at this point. I am getting something that should have been in the Lightfall campaign 4 months later after 2 seasons. That is not how this game should be going. That is not the road I want to see this game going. I do not want this direction. And to play devil's advocate here, it is not the first time that I've seen Bungie do something like this. And I believe it's more of the view that the developers have at this point. While I'm currently still working on the video and response that I have back for Bungie's Q&A recently and their latest TWID from last week, one of the things in there that I pointed out in that video, and I'm going to reiterate now because that video is not up, is so many developers before Season 21 launched were saying, hey, everyone look out for Bipod. Bipod is going to be this cool new perk. It's going to be amazing. Well, we get the perk, and it's one of the worst perks you can get for a rocket launcher. However, then in the post and the TWID on the 15th, it goes over some of these perks and the fact that they'll be launching very soon in Season 22. And the fact that they've been play testing them for months. So it makes me feel is that these developers are talking about all these incredible changes and all these things that are happening, but they forget what they actually shipped us. And this feels the exact same way as the Lightfall trailer that Bungie released right before it came out, where they're telling us in all this excitement, all this happiness of, wow, you guys are really going to enjoy all these cool things. It's going to answer so many questions. Like all this stuff is culminating together. That's going to make the last 9 years of work, all this amazing, like everything's clashing. You're finally understanding and all these amazing things happening. And it's complete dud. And I feel like it's because these developers, and it also shows in that roadmap in that same video of where they're at. As of right now, they already shipped Season 21, obviously. They're already complete with Season 22, and they're in full production of Season 23, and they are in early production of Final Shape. I feel like so many of these developers are talking to us with that year mindset, that they have an entire year to tell a story in something that should have been told to begin with. While I like the seasonal aspect and it helps with Bungie making money, especially before they were acquired by PlayStation, this was something that made sense to us. And while I don't disagree with a seasonal model necessarily, I don't like the idea that you are withholding stuff that should have been in the main campaign to then release to us months later. And it feels like a shitty way of the secrecy of the veil. You could have told us this cutscene in the middle of the Lightfall campaign, and we still don't know what the veil is. All we know right now is that there's another paracausal entity that is the opposite of the Traveler. We basically know the exact same crap that we knew beforehand. The only difference is now we have confirmation of what the veil and the Traveler can do when they're connected, and why the Witness wanted to do such a thing. That would give us motive and reasons why we should care about anything that happened in Lightfall. And one of the biggest cutscenes I'm going to point to this, of where this just again ruins the flow of the story, is when we had to shoot our ghost. When we had the opportunity to shoot our ghost to prevent the connection from happening. That cutscene, before all this knowledge, felt so lackluster. I knew our guardian wasn't going to shoot the ghost. I feel like pretty much everyone knew the guardian was never going to shoot the ghost, but I had no reason to even think about why I would even consider it, because in my head, we don't know what's going on, and we had no reason to care if it happened or not, just that it was bad. Well, bad doesn't tell me how bad it is or what's wrong or anything like that. I just knew it was not good. But why would I shoot the one thing that brought me to life, has been with me, and is basically my best friend? Right? Every guardian, your ghost is your best friend, basically. You have a deep connection with. So why would I ruin and destroy that connection for something that I have no idea what really the effect is? Now imagine that same cutscene, but with the knowledge we have today, with what the witness could do, and when they connect, that the fact that they can rewrite the entire history the way they want of the universe. That would make that scene so much more powerful. Even for the fact that we know that we still wouldn't have shot our ghost, it hits so much harder the fact that we chose our personal connection, our personal attachment over the entire fate of the universe. That is massive. That sits so much more. That has so much more meaning. And it does make the decision then of, wow, did we actually make the right choice? Should we have destroyed our ghost to prevent this from happening? Even though the witness still could have sent more fleets, still could have made more connections, and thus we would have lost our connection. We were the only other guardian there at the time. We would have needed backup. Yes, that would have had a lot more fallout, but it brings up the fact that it could have happened and it could have made sense. And that maybe if we were a different guardian, like Zavala or even Saint, would they have made the same choices? It brings that up, that we are just so different, and it brings up the factor of how we change the story. But without that context, that whole scene felt just completely stupid and pointless, because it was just like, we know we're not going to shoot our ghost. We don't have a reason to shoot our ghost. There's no reason why we would do it. Yet, if we had this context, how many of you actually would have sat there and been like, I don't know if that was the right decision? You know, this just brings up so much more that Destiny could have been, and the stuff, again, where it just feels like it lacks. And while I want to make this very, very clear, I do not believe that the content of the game sucks. I 100% believe that it is the delivery of the content that sucks. Because Bungie made a decision to withhold this information from us and then give it to us months later. What also upsets me and sits wrong with me is the fact that during the outcry and outburst of Lightfall of how bad it was, Bungie then said, whoa, hold on, next season we promise we're going to have a story about what the Veil is. And that's the Veil containment missions. By the way, I did the first mission, didn't realize that you were supposed to go back every single week, because there was never a prompt to. It never said there was something new, nothing. Also on top of that, so if those of you who haven't, you're supposed to go back every single week, so you can go back and listen to the last few weeks of recordings if you haven't already. But even on top of that, even if you do, two things I have to complain about it. One, even though I hate the lazy design of a repetitive mission of, hey, go in there, go listen, go say something, kill things, go blah, blah, blah. They didn't even do that. They literally just sent us to go sit, you launch it, you're in a room, you go open the little computer, you listen to the sentences, that's it, you leave. There's nothing more. This feels even more like you guys had no intent of ever making that happen. And it was something you guys just quickly threw together. No reason whatsoever, you just quickly threw it together. On top of that, it doesn't even explain anything about the Veil. It is all about, and I'm sorry, spoilers by the way, it is all about how the Neomuni people first made the technology to make the Cloud Striders. That is all it is about. It does not talk about a damn thing about what the Veil is. Nothing. Just that it helped protect them from the Vex when the Vex were trying to go after them, and that they then made the decision in connection between Siva and Vex Fluid, and they were then trying to start making the technology to make the Cloud Striders. That's it. Nowhere in there is anything about the Veil. So again, it doesn't even feel like it was there to do anything whatsoever. This all just feels empty and crappy. And I don't want to see people yelling at developers and doing stupid death stress and other crap like that. That doesn't need to happen. Go outside, touch grass. It's a game, okay? And as someone who's been dedicated to this game since beta, trust me, I get it. I feel it. It hurts. It sucks. Someone who's dropped over nearly $1,000 into this game, it sucks. All right, I get it. We're allowed to be mad, all right? But you don't get to act like a fucking idiot for it. That's just not how this works. That doesn't make something better for you, all right? I get you're angry. I'm angry, all right? But doing stupid stuff like that does not fix the game, nor does it give it proper critique to the video game developers to do this. So I have one simple thing. Bungie, this was the biggest, crappiest thing you've ever done to us, and probably one of the dumbest, worst things you've ever implemented in any gaming development team. Any. Do not do this again. I don't really know how to put that. Do not withhold information that makes the whole point of the DLC, the whole reason why we're even doing anything that entire first several months, anything to do with it. And you still could have kept the secret of the Veil, because we still don't know what the heck it is. You know? Still don't know what it is. Still can redo a bunch of different stuff. I don't know how you made this decision, and it is one of the biggest blunders ever. With that said, guys, I don't really have much more to say. Otherwise, we're just continuously beating the same dead horse over and over and over again. If you have any other critiques or any other things, leave them down below in the comments. I don't like asking for likes or anything like that, but I will say this. Share the video. Likes help. It helps spread the video and share it. And not just mine. Go find all content creators who are sharing these exact same points, because it is something that not only Bungie seriously needs to see and understand that the community will not handle this or deal with this ever again, but as a gaming community in a whole, that we will not deal with any development team that wants to not only money grab at a bunch of stuff, but then also just ruin an entire story and drip feed it to us months and months later. I want everyone to go out and find and share those videos, like those videos, go do everything for it, because this is something that as a gaming community, not just the Destiny community, as a gaming community, people need to then all unite under this idea that we are not dealing with stuff like this again. With that, that's all I have to say. Be good to each other. We're going to have to come back to a lot of this stuff, because this does bring up a lot of questions, a lot of answers, and we will have to go through it as it comes out. And I will get that other video that I was talking about for the Q&A out as quickly as possible, along with a few others. So I will see you all on those videos, and I hope you all have a wonderful day. And until next time, have a good one.